What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Alex here from Team Generations, back again with another budget deck profile. Today we're going to be getting an updated list for Girlish Idol Lyriquor. Now, if you are seeing this for the first time, welcome. Completely ignore what I'm about to say, but I did post this a couple days ago. I noticed that the ratios were wrong on this video, actually. During the playtesting weekend and a couple days after that, I think I just had all my cards in like red sleeves, and I had a bunch of piles next to each other, just so I can swap cards between my Bermuda decks until all my cards kind of arrived. But I think I accidentally slipped in a couple, like 4 extra grade 2s or something like that, just to kind of have my ratios thrown off. So disregard that video altogether. I took that one down, but super excited to be getting this to you guys. I think this is actually a really fun budget deck. Plays off of an order card that's really unique, and I like the playstyle overall. I think this is actually one of the stronger triple rare Vanguards out of the set, maybe the second strongest in my opinion. But yeah, like I said, very excited to get to this to you guys. I think I kind of nailed down my list, did a lot of playtesting with this, so I really like it, and let's jump right in. Alright, before we begin, I just wanted to give a huge thank you to everybody who has subscribed, and if you're new here, if you do learn anything during this profile, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button, possibly leaving a like on the video. But without further ado, jumping right into it, I'm going to start off a little bit different this time. I'm going to be starting off with this grade 2 order card. This is Lyrical Veil, so this is kind of like the main piece of the deck that you kind of need to see all the time. It is a grade 2 order card that is cost Soul Blast 2. Discard a Lyrical Veil from your hand. Choose up to 2 grade 2 or less units from your drop zone, call them to rearguard circle. Choose any number of any player's rearguards, and until the end of your opponent's next turn, they get intercept and can intercept from the back row. So just kind of want to point out 2 things with this. Obviously, the fact that we can call 2 grade 2 or less cards from our drop zone to rearguard circle is pretty big, because we can kind of, that kind of makes the deck like bulky in a way. It's dual layered here because you can give all of your players, any player's unit intercept. So you can give your own units intercept, and they can intercept from the back row, which is really nice. So you can clear your board, become a little bit bulkier than like your typical force deck normally would, and still be able to recur it with this card, which is very nice. Definitely like that aspect to it. Adds like a different layer of complexity, makes you play a little bit different, think of different numbers in your head. So I really like this card. I think it's like a unique kind of play style, and definitely worth trying out. Like if you're looking for something fun, different, it's definitely along that vein. Moving on then to our first grade 3. This is the main boss unit as shown before. This is 4 of Girlish Idol Lyriquor. So her skill on Vanguard Circle is when placed, we get to choose up to 2 order cards from our drop zone and return them to our hand. We can, our second skill, auto on Vanguard Circle. When any player's unit intercepts, this unit gets 10,000 until the end of battle, and that is an auto skill, so that's for every single time that happens, that stacks. Its third skill and final skill is auto on Vanguard Circle. When it attacks a Vanguard, if your order was played this turn, we get to counterblast 1, and your opponent must intercept as much as possible until the end of that battle. So this kind of pairs along with that order card here, obviously, because we're going to be Soul Blasting 2, discarding a card, and then boom, give it all of our opponent's cards intercept. So we're forcing them to intercept here with her third skill by counterblasting 1. So when she attacks, let's say they have 2 rear guards, they're both grade 3s in the front row. They don't have any shield value, but they have to still intercept. And she is then going to become a 33k unboosted. So that's, pretty powerful. Like if you're trying to hit into like a 13k Vanguard, that's at least a 20k, over a 20k. So it's more than 1 card to guard, which is really cool. So, and this is really effective too if your opponent has like a problem with filling their board. If they need that board presence at all times, this is really like a sleeper pick against that kind of deck. It could be a really fun matchup for you. I think the main weakness kind of in this deck, though, is that you need to see Lyric Veil. We'll go over some cards that kind of fetch it out for you, but overall, I think it focuses more, like a lot of the cards focus more on like the recursion of the card rather than finding it, so have to dig a little bit deeper into the deck sometimes to find that. Moving on then to our next grade 3. This is a support unit for Lyriquor. It pairs really well in my opinion. This is 4 of Rose Princess, how do you say that? Felania? I think that's how to say it, Felana. Anyway, its skill continues on rearguard or guardian circle. If any player's unit intercept this turn, this unit gets an additional 10,000 either attack or a shield. So that includes itself as well when it guards with off of the skill of the Lyrical Veil. Lyrical Veil, sorry, I can't talk. Its second skill, auto on Vanguard rearguard circle. When placed, we can counterblast 1, discard a card from our hand, and return up to 2 Lyrical Veil from our drop zone to our hand. So this is actually pretty cool because if you have a Lyrical Veil in your hand, you can basically ditch it off of that, just counterblast 1, and then boom, recur both of those. So a lot of ways to fetch that Lyrical Veil back. So long as you find them, it's pretty easy to keep on getting them back in your hands, as you can see with the Vanguard skill and this skill. A lot of different timing options with this as well. We'll go over that in the test hand a little bit later in the video if you guys are interested as well. We'll see if we can get a nice little play with that. Moving in then to the regular grade 2s, we are looking at 4 of this unit. This is customizable Service Maxine. So this is direct support for Lyriquor. Her skill on Vanguard circles, auto when placed, we get to discard a card from our hand, search our deck for up to 2 Lyrical Veil, reveal them, and put them into our hand, shuffle our deck. So huge card for this deck. This is really like the only searcher for Lyrical Veil. Otherwise you have to just draw into them naturally, dig a little bit deeper with different cards. But this is what you want to be riding every single grade 2 turn. Do as much as possible every time you see this card to get it on your Vanguard circle for that grade 2 ride. So pretty self-explanatory. You can discard a card like a Lyrical Veil. You always want to be like discarding your Lyrical Veil unless you need it, like, you know, for that very moment, because it's pretty easy to recur them back. So a lot of these cards don't really have like the hard cost normally associated with like a discard, so just keep that in mind. And plus too, the Lyrical Veil does get grade 2s or less. Like if you don't have an extra one in your hand, the Lyrical Veil, once you pop it off, does get your, you know, grade 2 or less back into onto the field. So they're not like a hard neg necessarily. Moving on to our next grade 2 though, as you can see, this is an oldie but goldie. This is Choco Love Heart Lisolette. Her skill continues in hand as it can be called as a grade 1 to rearguard circle. It gets considered a grade 1 at that moment, then it turns into a grade 2. Its second skill, auto on van or rearguard circle. When placed, we look at the top card of our deck, call it to rearguard circle, or put it into our soul. This ability may only be used once per turn by a card with the same name. So pretty important card for the deck. Fills your field if you want to apply a little bit of early pressure, which is really cool. You can pop off like a top idol aqua combo with that as well. I can show you that a little bit, but I think the biggest plus to this really is the fact that it soul charges. Like we're running through soul in this deck, like we need as much as possible to kind of slot that back in. And I think if you run into like 2 of these, I think you're in a pretty healthy soul situation where you can get at least 2 turns off with reriding, with you know, the whole Soul Blast 2 for this card, probably like 2 grade 3 turns pretty easily. So yeah, running that at a 4 of, pretty much a staple in almost all Bermuda decks at this point. Moving on then to our next grade 2, we are looking at, like I mentioned, the top idol Aqua. So this skill continues on van or rearguard circle during our turn. If we have any other unit in the same column as this unit, it gets an additional 5k. I'll explain why that's important a little bit later. And then auto on van or rearguard circle. When placed, we can return up to one of our other normal units on rearguard circle to our hand. And if we return a card, draw a card, and we can discard a card from our hand. This ability may only be used by a card with the same name once per turn. So this pairs really well with the Lisolette. There's not many other cards in the deck that pair with this. This is why we're only running it at 2 of. But let's say, you know, it's your grade 1 turn, you wrote a different grade 1 Vanguard, and then you call down the Lisolette, and you either soul charge or spam the field with another one. If you then ride into her, call her to rearguard, whatever, you can pop the Lisolette back, and then you can pop her down again, do Lisolette's effect again, soul charge. So just really effective overall. I think if you see these 2 cards, like, you know, you're in a pretty good resource generation spot. Its first ability too is kind of important too, because if you are facing a grade 3 Force Vanguard and they hit a trigger, if you have something boosting this, essentially, you know, just a vanilla 8k grade 1, you are still at least pressuring for a hit, because this is going to be 15 plus that 8, which is 23, so helps you in that regard. And obviously Force is, I guess, pretty big in the V Premium or Standard, whatever meta you want to call it right now, so I think that is definitely a solid card overall, but we just don't have too many like on-place effects. That's why I'm not like running that at a 4 of. Next up, our final grade 2. This is actually an interesting choice. Kind of, you know, you can tech it out if you don't want to do this, but I'm going to give my reasoning now. This is Multiple Shine Murata. So auto on Vanguard circle. When placed, we can counterblast 1, draw a card, and look at 7 cards on top of our deck, right up to 1 grade 2 unit card from among them as stand, and shuffle our deck. So like I mentioned before, we definitely want to be on that Maxine. If we are not on that, it's sometimes hard to find a Lyric Veil. I have a playtesting video where I think I just did not find a Lyric Veil, and I'll show you how the game kind of progressed. It's like a really tough situation to be in, so she helps sometimes, like riding her, you can pop off and find her out of that. So this is really a necessary ride, and we do as much as we can to kind of, within reason, to ensure that ride. So she helps with that, and plus you do draw that extra card. You're not technically like negging or anything, so decent in that regard. Otherwise, I really wouldn't be running her in the deck. Moving on then to the grade 1, so just want to consistently be on the right Vanguard going into our grade 3 turn. So as such, we are running 4 Mermaid Idol Sedna. She is the standard grade 3 searcher for Bermuda. Super happy they printed these in promo rarity, because I definitely don't want to be swapping them in between all my different sleeves. Continues on van or rearguard circle during our turn. If you have another unit in the same column as this unit, it gets an additional 5,000. Auto on Vanguard Rearguard Circle. When placed from hand, we get to look at 5 cards from the top of our deck, reveal a grade 3, add it to hand. If we add it to hand, we drop a card from our hand. So it's not as costly like a lot of other decks that drop, again, because your grade 3s recur. The Lyrical Veil. Lyrical Veil also gets back a grade 2 or less, so the discarding doesn't hurt as much typically, and we can still get guard value out of that with that Lyrical Veil effect. So like I said, the deck just naturally becomes a little bit bulkier than expected. It's a different kind of playstyle. You have to adapt. I feel like if you're going to play this deck in any kind of competitive capacity, whatever it might be, I feel like you really need to log quite a few games on it just to kind of get the rhythm and the flow down, because it's not like any other deck in a lot of ways. So yeah, running that at a 4 of, pretty self-explanatory. Then our next grade 1, we are looking at 4 of Distinguished Winged Radka. So her skill on Vanguard Circles, when its attack hits, we get to draw a card, just applying that pressure. If you have to ride it and you're on your, you went second, you can still hit. Second skill, act on Rearguard Circle, retire this unit, look at 2 cards from the top of our deck, put 1 card from among them into our hand, and then put 1 into the drop zone. But you only use this card once per turn as well, any card with the same name. But, oh yeah, that hard once per turn. This is pretty decent because, A, we can put her into the drop zone, obviously, because we have to retire her. Put something else maybe in the drop zone that we want to call the Rearguard Circle off of the Lyrical Veil. I feel like every card in here has kind of like some recursion kind of aspect to it that can really help you out in the long run. This card, getting rid of herself, can be recurred with that Lyrical Veil, and then you can dig a little bit deeper, get another 2 cards the next turn, whatever the case may be. Or maybe you activated her first, then the Lyrical Veil, pop her back. But a lot of different timing combos you can do with her. And again, we don't mind having things in the drop, so the bodies on board aren't like the most important thing in the deck, kind of like maybe like Lupina or whatever. And then the last grade 1, so I was trying the Special Message Aurora for a bit. She's not a bad card if you want to tech out anything and swap that in. Again, it's not bad to have things in the drop zone in the deck, but I'm actually going to try one of the promo cards. I was running this. It seemed to work in a couple games, helps us fill our soul. This is Cuddle Connect Finessa. So her skill, auto on Rearguard Circles, at the end of battle it attacked or boosted, we could put a grade 3 or greater card from our drop zone to the bottom of our deck, and then we could put this unit into our soul and draw a card. So get that little draw, so you're not negging, if you call it from hand or whatever. And you could also fuel your soul, which, you do run heavy. Soul Blast to that Lyrical Veil. You don't want to run anything else that runs that Soul Blast, but just kind of like an option card. If you want to try something else, that's fine. I will say not the weakness of the deck, but maybe the weakest point structurally is the grade 1 lineup, just because we're running 9 grade 1s. Typically in a Bermuda deck like to run a little bit more, but it's really tough to fit that extra 4 order cards in there. But I'm finding if this works, I'm riding consistently. I'm really not having to G-assist. I think out of like maybe 13 games, I think I G-assisted like twice, so not terrible overall. Again, it's just kind of a luck-based thing, but no ride deck in V Premium. Alright, moving into our trigger lineup, very standard stuff here, nothing too crazy at all. I'm running 4 heal, I'm running 8 crit, and 4 draw sentinel. Obviously draw sentinels because right now, damn, let me get that in frame, sorry. The 4 draw sentinels just because we do want to draw into our key pieces. We want to get that Lyrical Veil all the time. Kind of helps with that. Helps pressure in the early game too. Just having a fatter hand is always good. Obviously the starter too. Crits because we do need a pressure. We need to close out games. Sometimes your Vanguard swings on really big columns. I typically go Force 2 in this deck with my Vanguard because it swings for such crazy numbers. Unless they're like clearing their field and they pretty much have a guaranteed field clear of themselves. In that case, maybe go Force 1. But I feel like we need those crits and we need those heals just to kind of survive. Longer overall. You can change the ratios if you want. I don't think it hurts to have a little bit more of draw triggers in here if you want, but just play around, see what you kind of like with that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching so far. If you guys did like or learn anything during this video, I ask that maybe you consider hitting that subscribe button. Definitely would appreciate it. A lot of other content on the channel for Bermuda and other decks. I'm going to try to be doing some different stuff coming up besides just deck profiles and playtesting videos, so stay tuned for that. Alright, without further ado, let's jump right into a test hand and then get that started. Alright, let's shuffle this up over here and get this test hand started. Overall, really fun little unique deck. I think there's nothing really else kind of like that. I think that it's really cool that they included this order card and made like an order card centric kind of deck in a way. Very unique. I know some people are considered playing Lyrical Veil in All Mile. I don't know quite how that fits in specifically. Like, I feel like we do call those grade 2s or less easier than a lot of other decks. Maybe the intercept ability is why they're really playing it. But I think you intercept from the back row with, what was it, Hope Song Angel? Yeah. So I don't know. I don't see room for that kind of in alt my. Let's see what I'm drawing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I noticed during my test hands, you guys can't really see all the time, so I'm really trying to give you exposure to my hand. So we have a decent lineup overall. We are going to keep these 3. We have our Lyriquor, we have our grade 1 Radco. Let's see if we can get another grade 1, because that one helps us dig a little bit deeper into the deck. Gonna draw 2, 1 and 2. Not too bad. Could have definitely been worse. So let's shuffle this up and get started. There we go. Let me just move the mic wire. Sorry about that. All right, cool. Let us go. And we're just going to pretend we go first, just for making it a little bit easier, as we always do in our playtesting videos. But let's stand and draw. All right, cool. We did get her for the second grade 2. All right, no other grade 1. No big deal. We're going to draw off of the ride. Did I draw for turn? Yeah, I did. We do have another one. You know, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to get the Lyric Veil. I'm going to retire this. Going to go 1 and 2. Going to add 1 to hand, 1 to drop. Let's add... We have the grade 3s we need right now. Let's actually add her and dig a little bit deeper. Next turn, we're going to pass it over to our opponent, and we are going to take a damage for their turn. Boom. No big deal. They're dead cards after we have 1. We just really want to see 1, so we don't mind discarding her. Really, she can be fodder. Our turn, we are now going to stand and draw. And let us ride the Maxine. All right, perfect. And then when placed, we're going to discard a card from our hand. Let's see. What do I want to discard? Grade 1 or less can be called back. Or 2 or less. There's nothing else I really want to do with the Aqua necessarily. No, I'm going to pop her first. You know what? It's early in the game. I'm just going to ditch her shields just because I feel like I can make a couple plays off of here. I'm actually going to use her. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to search out the Lyrical Veils off that discard. I'm going to get 2, 1, and 2. So without that card, I mean, it's really hard to search them. As you can see, like, just naturally going into the deck is definitely not a guarantee. Every single time can be a tough situation if you do not find them. Like, the deck is just dead. Like, you don't do that much. All right, cool. So we got 2. So at least we're set up there. Now I'm going to use her skill. I'm going to retire this unit. Look at the top 2. I just shuffled, right? Yes. 1 and 2, of course. Of course. Well, this is going to go down there, and this is going to go to our hand. More shield value. Definitely worth. We didn't find anything else to pop off with the Aqua. We can't really get that other thing off. I'm going to save that for next turn, I think, right? Let's see. Do I have other things? I can get 1 and 2 back to the board. Yeah, I can pair and make a 28k column with the grade 1 there, so I'm just going to stack these guys on top. All right, very good. Let's just proceed, and we're going to keep this simple, not give them too many counterblasts. So we're going to swing. Let's see, crit? No way. All right, sucks that this is a dead card now, but kind of need to do it for consistency reasons. Over to our opponent. Take 2 damage, 1, oof, 2. All right, no triggers, of course. Our turn, stand and draw. Now let me see, I have some choices here. Ooh, very nice, we got her, but don't want to expose that we just draw that off the top, though. Let's ride her and get a Force 2. We're going to put that on our Vanguard circle. I guess we're playing with dragons today instead of Bermuda cards. All right. All right, what am I going to do now? Let's see. So I'm going to, I'm going to pop, I'm going to have to, I don't have any Lyric Veil in there, so the on-ride effect doesn't go off. I have 2 Lyrical Veils, so I can pop 1 down, all the units. You want to have your units on board first to, I think, choose them. What is it? Drop zone to choose any number, so you have to have them all on board and kind of situate that first. But let's do this, yeah. This is a when placed effect, which kind of sucks, but yeah, it's fine. Whatever. We're gonna call her down. And let's go. Don't do anything with that. No, the other grade 2s are better. All right, cool. We're gonna use a Lyrical Veil. We're going to discard 1 from our hand. Soul Blast 2. Now, always make sure you Soul Blast your grade 1 and 2 just so you can get them out onto the field. If needed, you don't really need to Soul Blast that starter to start. And then I'm going to call 2 cards. Let's go 1 and 2 just because I could only use 1 of their effects. This goes in the drop. 1 and 2. And we're going to activate, am I going to activate her skill? Yeah, let's activate her. Let's retire her. Actually, I'm going to call her here, sorry. I'm going to retire her, 1 and 2. Oh my god. I'm going to discard this one, and I'm going to add this one to my hand, just because there is so much recursion in this deck. Like, if they're in the drop zone, that's not the end of the world at all. So, let us then proceed. What are we going to do here? So everybody has that, the intercept now. I'm going to do that to my opponent's cards as well. Let's see. Yep, let's enter battle. So we're going to swing. Oh, I'm sorry. I actually could have... Yeah, there's no point, actually. I could have just called her down, discarded the thing, Lyrical Veil, and then got them both back to hand, but there's no point because it would just be wasting another Counterblast, so I didn't misplay that, actually, sorry. I'm going to swing at them. I'm going to Counterblast 1. Everybody intercepts. You know, like I said, if they had 2 cards, let's say, that would be an extra 10k, 10k, so it's a 33k to crit body. Let's see what else I'm drive checking here. 1 and 2. Do get a power trigger there. Let's do it, I guess, on her. Just stack her a little bit more, and we're going to draw. Very nice. We did get that Veil, so draw triggers are effective. We are then going to proceed. This is going to swing. When any player's thing intercepted this turn, she gets an extra 10k, 23k, goes into 33k with the trigger. This is going to be a 15 plus a 13, so that is a 28k column, so not too bad overall, especially attacking into a grade 2. I think, like I said, this deck is bulky in that everybody can intercept, so I have the 10k back here, and an extra 10k here because of its first skill, an extra 5k, whatever. Obviously, that can intercept anyway, but not too bad overall. The recursion next turn will happen with the Lyric Veil, so I'm going to add 1 and 2 back to hand, but you guys kind of get the idea of the deck. There are actually a lot of different intricate plays you can do with, like, dropping certain cards, the timing of certain cards, so I don't think this is like the most boring budget deck in the world. Like some vanilla ones are, you know, just run of the mill, do this, do that, and you do have a mainline strategy obviously in this deck, but I think there are a couple interesting ways to get there. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and this is Alex from Team Generations signing out.